Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So this week we've been going over Beelzemon and now we're getting to Gallantmon. For BT12 format, we get tons of new Gallantmon support, and finally, I think with this amount of support, Gallantmon is finally at a point where it can be competitive. Like, actually really competitive, believe it or not, with the format consisting of Beelzemon X and them just trashing an insane amount of security. It gives cards like Crimson Mode a chance to absolutely punish our opponents. And so the more people playing Beelzemon, that just makes this deck even better. Okay, let's go ahead and get into this. Don't forget, our featured memory marker this month, though, is Busomon. I believe this is the last day that it'll be available for Patreon reward members, but you can always still find it in the future on my wife's Etsy page, Digimiyu, link in the description below for her page. This is handmade by her out of clay, hand-painted as well. Nice fur texture on the clay. Really, really great memory marker. All you Ghost Game fans out there, if you haven't got any yet, also make sure you check her Etsy page out because she has a bundle going on right now that can get you all 3 of the Ghost Game memory markers for a discounted rate if you get all 3 of them. As well as she has all of her all the previous memory markers that we featured on the channel. You can find those there on her Etsy page also. Alright, so as always, I've got the whole deck pulled up for you guys so you can kind of follow along and see what our overall plan is and how we're going to go about it. Now, yes, we are 54 of 50 cards, and that's just because I've got some talking points there at the bottom for some different alternatives that you can go into. I went with an incredibly aggro version of the deck. You could go with a bit more of a control element if you want to, but I think it's got enough just control built in haphazardly that you're fine. I don't think you need to go for a complete dedicated control build. Also, Gallantmon control has never been overly impressive anyways. Any sort of decks that are like Tamer reliant, or they can just sit in the breeding area till they're ready to come up and smack you in the face and win. Those types of decks have just that type of strategy has never been that great for Gallantmon. So I think an aggro build is the way to go. So that's the route I have chosen to take. But if you do want to do the control aspect, I do have the alternative that you can run instead with some explanations. I can words on how those interact. So starting off, we got Digimon as our baby. Just that draw 1 when we attack is just really good. Using stuff like X Antibody is also really nice because we can swing and say we draw into something useful, like say Gallantmon X Antibody, we can then immediately Digivolve using that X Antibody. So I just really like that, as well as just a powerful consistency card, absolutely. Even if you don't want to go with the Evo mid-swing shenanigans, you can still, after the attack, maybe you drew into something useful, Evo then. So Digimon, the draw 1, definitely the one I would prefer. Next, we got the starter deck 7 version of Gallantmon. This is the one that Warp Digivolves, which does come up fairly often these days. Plenty of Megas decks running around right now. When this guy first came out, not so much. But now he's just in a pretty good solid environment for that. And then you can immediately Blitz, so even better. Digivolve into a Mega, Blitz. Feels really good, but also he's just another consistency boost here of your turn once per turn when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, trigger draw 1. We have tons of ways to pop our opponent's Digimon, so that's why we run that for just more consistency. Also, I would say there's not a ton of Gallantmons to choose from that are like really good. I think we've definitely chosen the best that there is, but at the same time, that's still kind of limited. This, though, is the, I will say I don't have the draw 1 Gallantmon, the win attacking draw 1 that you see in like tons of other decks, because the idea of this deck is to go get up into your Megas. You don't want to waste time, swing with a rookie, that rookie dies, I lose my baby and my rookie, and I've got to start building a whole new stack next turn in raising area. That's puts you at turn 3 before you're actually starting to build into a real stack, and I think that's just too slow for any sort of format. You can't start actually attempting to build a stack on turn 3. You have to really start from turn 1. The best Gallantmon, hands down, though, is the EX2, though. His search is super good. Reveal 4, add a Growlmon or Gallantmon and a Tocado. That's really good. And then he has the nice little control inheritable here. Also one of the best inheritables that we can get on our Gallmons. If it has Growlmon or Gallantmon when attacking, you can pop something with 3k or less. Yeah, just super solid. And then we've got, of course, ways to increase that DP threshold throughout all of our Evos so we can make that number even bigger. And if you want to go with a control style, he is, again, one of the best Gallmons that you could possibly have, just because that's going to be an additional pop that you can add to your repertoire. Now, we did get a new Gallantmon here for BT12. This is another Reveal 4. However, you only get to add Tocados. Now, you do get to add all the Tocados you reveal, but you can't get anything else, and you bottom deck everything else, so that could kind of hurt. So I'm not an overly big fan of this one. Now, if literally Tocado is what you're missing, then sure, do what you got to do. Play this guy out. Not too bad. You know, he's still solid, okay? He's still something to pass with, but we're only running him at a 2 of, and he's got the inheritable of that 2k buff. You know, a little bit of DP buff, not too bad, doesn't hurt, so I don't mind that. We don't have a ton of, like, DP buff things here, so he is a new way to get some DP buffs in addition, so I'm a big fan. And then, of course, we've got Gallantmon X. This is mostly a consistency booster more than anything. 0 Evo cost on top of any of our Gallantmons. Draw a card. Cool. That alone is worth playing it. But also, he adds 1k to the DP deletion effects. So that's our first step in the ability to increase those thresholds. So fantastic. Absolutely. No matter, I would say, if you choose your Gallantmons, definitely max out on the EX2s and max out on the X Antibody ones. The other ones you could argue running different stuff if you wanted to, but definitely run 4 and 4 of those. Next, we've got the Growlmon X. Same premise as the Gallantmon X. It's a 0 Evo cost on top of your other level 4s to get a draw, and he also has the same thing of the increase the DP deletion effects by 1k. But at the end of the day, we really like him in here just for the consistency power. Evo for 0 draw card. Now, the best Growlmon, still to this day, hands down, I think, is the Starter Deck 7 one, and that's the one once per turn. It's on your turn once per turn when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, gain a memory. I mean, you've already seen it. We're deleting stuff like crazy on our opponent's side of the field, controlling them, deleting something by battle, whatever the case may be. You're going to gain that memory. Super good. I mean, that also the Tocado, that's what he does as well, is gain you memory when stuff is deleted. So getting that through multiple ways, you can do some really cool plays, which we'll get into towards the end here on some of our ideal combos that you want to do with the deck. And then rounding out our Growlmon level 4s here, we've got the new BT12 one. This one's kind of hit or miss. So when Digivolving, if you don't have a Tocado in play, you may play one from your hand without paying its memory cost. Like, on a surface level, this felt really good. And then we tested it out, and it was what I was talking about earlier. If this guy gets deleted because you promote up your rookie Evo into this guy, play out that Tocado for free, if that passes turn, or you go to level 5, whatever the case may be, if that gets deleted and you have to start over with a new stack, you're probably going to lose because it's going to take too many turns to get back into the game at that point. So you got to be really careful on this one. It's solid, but not like a must, like you've got to go into this, promote about a raising area. I would be better off suggesting hard play out a Searcher Gallantmon, get that Tocado in hand, and then Evo this guy on top and play that Tocado out. And keep your stack in raising area that you're working on building up into. I think that would be a better use of your time and plays rather than having to start on another turn after the fact in raising. So still super solid though. And then another way to gain another 2k DP here. So more DP, you can't complain there. You do have to hit security or swing over things as well in this deck. It isn't all trash, which is the ideal situation, but not all of your checks are going to be coming from just trashing security. Now this next part here for our level 5s, I went back and forth on a ton. Specifically with the purple-red War Groundmon from EX3. When this came out, I loved it. My issue is in this format, it's kind of in an awkward position. I was running a 3-3-3 split with this War Groundmon, the new one, this one from EX3 and the X Antibody, and it was solid until I played against Beelzemon. You play this against Beelzemon, and it just completely wrecks you. So when Digivolving, both players trash the top 3 cards of their decks. And Beelzemon, when they get those mills that gain them memory, you just pass your turn. You just lose out. You're about to do some big play here. You got your memory fixer, Evo this guy for 3, go to 0. You're about to go into your Mega and do some big plays and delete a lot of things. And then you make your opponent mill 3, and it's a Wizardmon, and boom, it passes turn to them. And you're just SOL. And you're like, awesome, wasted that completely. Now, getting to play out a Gilmon or Tocado from your hand or trash, very, very strong. Like, absolutely love it. So I think, like, if you want to play this, I don't fault you for it at all. Just in certain matchups, you might be better off just evoing this guy in raising area if you're playing against Beelzemon, or if Beelzemon sets you to a ton of memory and you can get away with milling stuff. You also got to remember some mills will delete your Digimon, so you got to be careful of that as well. Okay, so again, just keep those things in mind. If you're playing against Beelzemon, may just evo this guy in raising area and then go into your bigger plays on a following turn. But moving back to what I went with the new War Growl. This thing is very strong. I've seen some crazy cool plays with this guy when Digivolving. 3 Evo cost there. When Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 4,000 DP or less. Kind of low. Sure, we can increase it up to about 6,000 with this stuff that we're running here. Still kind of low, though, depending on what you're dealing with. If no Digimon is deleted by this effect, you may Digivolve this Digimon into a level 6 Digimon with Gallantmon in its name in your hand by paying its Digivolution cost, and you get to reduce the Digivolution cost by 1 when you use this effect. So your Gallantmons are 4 Evo cost, now they're 3 Evo cost. So say you Digivolve into this, say it passes turn, you use his When Digivolving effect, then to go into a Gallantmon, okay, for 3. Now say your opponent's at 4 memory, you're gonna blitz with your Gallantmon. You're going to probably try to get some pops going off between the Gallantmon pop or like your Gilmon pops, and then you're going to trigger your Growlmons, right? So your Growlmon that's going to gain you memory. Something was deleted. Cool. I'm going to gain a memory off of that. I'm going to use my Tocado that gave me my Blitz here, and I'm going to suspend him, gain another memory. So that's 2 memory I've gained. And then end of attack, the inheritable now that you have live because you evoed that Gallantmon. If your opponent has no Digimon in play and this Digimon has Growlmon or Gallantmon in its name, gain 2 memory. Boom, you gain 2 more memory. That's 4 memory. What does that sound like, right? That was the exact Evo cost that we had. The 3, this guy evoed for 3, put our opponent to 1. Then he evoed into Gallantmon for 3. Our opponent was at 4. We did our big play. We're back to 0. Feels really good. So I'm a big fan of this guy. I think he's a really big playmaker. Like, absolutely. Just that being able to, like, normally I would pass turn just Digivolving into my level 5. Now I can go all the way up into my Gallantmon. If I've got X Antibody underneath, I can go into my Gallantmon X. In addition to that, I can do some really big, gnarly plays. Like, this feels like some Jessmon level of plays, you know, where they're playing out those Sistermons, like, you know, say they blitz or whatever, or they swing and they play out some Sistermons, and now they're evoing, you know, all the way here. And sure, it gives your opponent a ton of memory, but the plays are so powerful that they're incredibly impactful. So I'm a big fan of it. And then, but the nice part about this is after you do those big plays, you gain a lot of memory back, either in the middle of it by deleting your opponent's Digimon, getting that memory off the Growlmon, multiple Tocados that you might have in play, and then at the end of it, you get this 2 memory off of War Growl. So big fan there. In addition to that, though, we've got War Growlmon X, and I love this guy too. 0 Evo Tombo, another War Growlmon when Digivolving until the end of your opponent's turn. 2 of their Digimon gain on deletion, lose 1 memory. So if you can clear those bodies, you'll gain additional memory. So even better there. So it's, you know, the thing is, though, you're like, well, if I go X Antibody on top of this War Growl, I don't get this when Digivolving effect, right? If I miss out on this and I go into this, but this guy's going to gain you memory as well, and that's what's so fantastic. It's like, oh, I lose out on that inheritable. Well, you still have that inheritable, but you lose out on all that other shenanigans. But that's okay, because you're still going to be able to proc this on deletion, lose 1 memory. And then if you have War Growl or X Antibody in the Digimon's Digivolution cards, choose any number of your opponent's Digimon whose total DP adds up to 6,000 DP or less. And remember, you can increase that up to about 8,000 with this particular build. If you have the new Digimon, you can increase this up to 9,000. That's pretty solid. That's a lot of deletion effects right there off of a 0 Evo cost level 5. Now, the Gallantmon I went with, and I've gone back and forth on this Gallantmon on which one to run numerous times. So this is the one I have settled on finally, the new one out of BT12. So 12,000 DP, pretty solid there, can't complain. We've got a couple, the new Growlmon and the new Gillmon can bump him up to 15k, so pretty solid there for just a standard Mega. The raid here is cool when it comes up, when you need it, but that's not why I chose him. It wasn't because of raid. When Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less. That's pretty standard for Gallantmon. Again, we can increase this up to 8,000 or 9,000. But when attacking, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less. If no Digimon is deleted by this effect, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. This is where it begins. The beginnings of the trashing our opponent's security without actually checking it. Most people already know that's what Crimson Mode's big thing is. It trashes security. This is a new first stage of it, and it's really easy to trigger this thing off. So, and you don't even have to miss out on other triggers, other effects. So most of the time you don't need to really worry about the deleting of DP stuff. Not even necessary to actually increase it. Sometimes you might not want to increase this threshold up to 7, 8, 9,000 because you really want to trigger that other effect of trashing security. I think these new decks are going to really put security control in check, and I'm sure a lot of people are a big fan of that. Anytime people can put security control in check, they're a big fan of it, and this guy is definitely in that ballpark. Trash security without actually checking it, super huge. Normally a 4 Evo cost, but with the new War Growl, we can make it a 3, and that feels super solid. Then we got Gallantmon X here, Digivolve for 1 on top of a Gallantmon. When Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP. The thing about this one is you have to have already cleared your opponent's field with all your other effects before you go into this is the most ideal situation. But sometimes just going into this to clear your opponent's big, bad, whatever guy that's on field, because that's all they've got, it's like, okay, well, let me go Gallantmon X and pop that Death X, sorry, that's all you have? Oh, well, I'm going to clear that Death X, no problem. Not a big deal. So I like the versatility of that, and the fact that the rest of the Evo chain up to this point basically cleared out all the little guys, and so basically all you should have left is the one big bad. So that's really nice. But if no Digimon is deleted by this effect, unsuspend this Digimon, and that feels really good to be able to swing with this one, use that when attacking to trash a security, maybe get a check if you need to, or just swing over a big body, and then you go into this and you're going to get to unsuspend, and then you can swing again for more checks, or ideally going into Crimson mode, and so even better there. And then your turn, once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, if Gallantmon or X Antibody is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So even if you don't get to get the trash effect up here, you can still get some sort of mileage out of this. So I'm a big fan of Gallantmon X Antibody. I think it's a fantastic card. And then finishing off our Digimon here, we've got Crimson mode. So when Digivolving, delete all your opponent's Digimon with the highest DP. So nice complementary with that Gallantmon X there. And then when attacking, which, remember, you're going to have Blitz. So even if you go into this big, massive 6 memory Evo cost here, you will have Blitz, so you can Evo in Blitz. Trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. Add 1 to the number of cards trashed by this effect for every 10 cards in your opponent's trash. So you get the 1 automatic. They got 10 cards. Boom, now you're trashing 2 cards. And if you've already trashed cards earlier off of like Gallantmon X and your other Gallantmon, your opponent should only have 3 left. So if your opponent has 20 cards in trash, which is Beelzemon's sweet spot that they want to get to rapidly, this is full clear, and then that's your actual attack will go through and win you the game. So super strong card, and then in combination with the Gallantmon and Gallantmon X, like this is fantastic, absolutely incredible combination of cards here. Really thought out and built right for the game. So I'm a big fan of it. I mean, just in any deck, 20 cards in trash is not that like far off. Lots of games, most games in fact, your opponent will have 20 cards in trash by mid game, and that's when you're going to be able to really capitalize with the Gallantmon deck. So big fan of how all of this comes together and works really nicely. Going into our Tamers here, we got the original EX2 Tocado. When an opponent's Digimon is deleted, you can suspend this Tamer to gain 1 memory. So there is value to playing multiple Tocados. Say, you know, it's like, okay, well, I don't want to overextend this turn. I'm just going to play out a second Tocado, and I can get value on it later on. Awesome. I love that I can get, there's value in playing out multiple Tocados. And then, of course, this is how you get your Blitz there when one of your Digimon digivolves into a Gallantmon or Groundmon when digivolving Blitz. So super cool stuff. We are just running the 3 of this. I don't want to get too bricky, too cloggy. The Blitz is very important for this deck. I will say that. You do want to get a Tocado in play, one of these EX2 Tocados in play really quickly, but we have tons of draws of all the X Antibody stuff, as well as we've got 2 different Gallantmons that are searching out Tocados as well. We should be able to pick one up no problem, so don't mind that too much. And then we got a new memory fixer here, which is just nice to have because used to we were having to run the heroes, and the hero is fine, and honestly there's always value in running hero. I thought since we can actually pick up Tocado off of our searches, might as well just go ahead and run this memory fixer Tocado instead of the hero. And then he's got a cool effect though, main once per turn, by placing Groundmon or Groundmon from your trash and this Tamer at the bottom of your Gallantmon's Digivolution cards in any order. Digivolve that Digimon into a Gallantmon in your hand, ignoring level requirements and paying its Digivolution cost. That Digimon gains 2k for the turn. So for Evo cost to go from your Gallantmon that you just promoted up at a raising area and go straight up into a Gallantmon, that's really solid. I mean, it's kind of like our Warp Gallantmon that we have already, but without the requirement of your opponent having a Mega in play. We can just do it even if our opponent's field is empty or doesn't have a Mega. So that's kind of neat there as well. And if you have your other Tocado in play, it'll have Blitz. So you can go straight to Value Town right there. So that's just a really neat Tocado. I think it's really awesome. I think I probably prefer the hero more, that 2k buff that hero gives. But again, the fact that Tocado, I can actually hit it off my searches, I just run it because of that instead. And then we've got 2 X Antibodies in here, not like an over must-have for the strategy or anything like that. It's kind of similar to Beelzemon. You can run the deck without the X Antibody like package, the X Antibody, the cool boy. You can run the deck without it. It just has a little bit more value there because like the plays we were talking about earlier, you know, you go War Growl, you go Gallant Blitzes, you know, your opponent's at, you know, you're at like 5 memory on your opponent's side of the field. There's no chance you're going to be able to gain enough memory back to then go into your Gallant X. So then you also use your X Antibody option here to use that when attacking Digivolve into a Digimon card with X Antibody in the traits and get a little bit more mileage out of your big combo play off of this, whether you're unsuspending or deleting your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP. So I do like this in the deck. I think it's super solid of a card, and that is the overall part of the deck. That this right here on your screen is 48 cards. The last couple things I wanted to just touch on were some stuff down here. So we already went over the War Growlmon and like how that could be useful. This Digimon, if you want to go for that more control heavy route, this is going to be another one that adds with that 1k to the maximum DP you can delete with. So again, so you can bump up all those effects by just a little bit more. If you want to go that route, I don't recommend it. I think going for the consistency is a little bit better. But if you do, also consider this Gallantmon because he gets a 2k buff, but also while you have a red Tamer play, add 2k to the maximum DP. So again, there's going to be a further 3k that we can already add. And we've got the 2k buffs from the Gallantmon X here and the Growlmon X. So now we're adding a total of, what is that, 5k that we can add to our deletion effects in total. So you combine that with something like Crimson Blaze, that's 6k. Now it's deleting everything on your opponent's side for 11,000. Like, clear your whole opponent's field of 11,000 DP or less. Crimson Blaze in that build is nutty strong. Now, Crimson Blaze already is a fantastic card, great for dealing with tons of different things, different situations. I do have it as potentially the one I would play for my last 2 cards of the deck. Just with what we have here, it's already at 8k. That's wiping out. I don't mind that too much. But this deck doesn't have... besides the Crimson mode and the Gallant X, it doesn't have a ton of like ways to get like clear big bodies. So maybe you can consider something else like Gaia Force if you want. Just kind of whatever you prefer. Some other talking points of consideration though, instead of Crimson Blaze, of course, is your Cool Boys, just for that consistency, being able to search, grab the stuff you want. The only reason I'm not running the Cool Boys is it bottom decks too much important stuff in the deck. Bottom decking Crimson modes, Gallantmons, War Growls, things like that feels really, really awkward. So I didn't quite want to commit to the Cool Boy because of that. And the memory gain is, of course, only when we go with the X Antibody Evos, which isn't always something that you can do. But it is a solid card. Cool Boy is fantastic, one of the best cards, the most OP cards, I would say, in this entire game as a whole. But I think Gallantmon here, kind of spicy. I was like about to start the recording, and I was looking at Gallantmon. I was like, honestly, this might be the contender for the last 2 cards of the deck. Instead of Crimson Blaze or Cool Boy, Gallantmon here might be my go-to. So you can play it for a 1 play cost because of its effect here. If you have a Gallantmon in play, you can play it for 1 memory. Okay, it can't attack, but your turn, when one of your Digimon digivolves, you may suspend this Digimon, gain 1 memory, draw 1, and one of your Digimon gets plus 3k for the turn. And we did say that the deck can kind of struggle a little bit on gaining memory. It can gain a little bit here and there, but not a ton. That's what I was talking about. Like the heroes would be really nice. But these 12Ks, if they have to swing into security, might be susceptible. There's a lot of 13Ks in this game right now. So Gallantmon being able to give a DP buff is great. But also what I really liked about this is it's essentially Cool Boy. Like once Cool Boy hits the field after it does its search, which maybe you don't want this search, like I'm saying, you play a 1-cost Gallantmon instead, and every time you digivolve, you can suspend this Tamer to gain 1 memory. It doesn't have to be into an X Antibody specifically. It's just your Digimon digivolves, suspend this, gain a memory, draw a card. Gallantmon looking pretty good. Honestly, if someone ran Gallantmon as their last 2 cards in this deck, I would absolutely give them props. I think it's a fantastic card. Has not had a ton of opportunities to shine. It does every once in a while, and I think as a 2 of it could be really spicy. Also, it has a fantastic alt art. I did have it pulled up earlier, but of course I minimized or got rid of it. But this alt art that it has is really, really good. Honestly, if you haven't already, you might look at picking these up because these might be one of those cards that go up in price very quickly. And if anyone's made it this far in the video, then yeah, definitely kind of might be something you look at. I probably will look at it right after I finish filming. No lie. Just if the price is just right, then I'll definitely pick up a couple. But yeah, and this will do it for the deck. I think it's a fantastic deck, and it's in a really good position, and it's a ton of fun. It's freaking Gallantmon, okay? He's in my top 3 favorite Digimon, so of course I got a little bit of bias there, but Gallantmon is a huge fan favorite. Tamers is like I think the most popular Digimon season ever made, and Gallantmon being literally the protagonist of pretty much the whole series at the very end. Yeah, what's not to love about that? So being if at the forefront of the meta again is really nice. So hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any comments or recommendations, please put it in the comment section below.